As a player and connoisseur of role-playing games, you likely enjoy a variety of genres. Exploration and ancient civilizations, murder mysteries, and stories based on unique and unnerving locations, gothic horror, or even secret organizations. But as a DM, how do you pick the right theme for your campaign? That's the MacGuffin we're looking for in this episode of Geek Philosophy. Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we explore our love of geeky wisdom. We post new videos weekly, so don't forget to stick around to the end to hear our Geek Philosophy quote of the week. My name's Brian, and today I'm going to cover my 3-step process for outlining campaign themes for my players. Let's get started. Here's one of the biggest elephant in the room secrets about being a DM. You have to like it. You're taking on a lot of planning and prep work, and your players want to have a great time, and you want them to have a great time. But if you don't like the game you're running, odds are your players aren't going to like it either. Start by making a list of some of the themes you are currently interested in developing into a campaign. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to stick with some of the ones I mentioned in the introduction. Exploration, so think Tomb Raider or Indiana Jones. Ancient civilizations, also think Tomb Raider or Indiana Jones. I'm kidding, but the first two actually go together really well. Murder mystery, think Murder on the Orient Express or even Knives Out. Location-based, think Deadwood or Bad Times at the El Royale. And for gothic horror, think Penny Dreadful or any of the classics that inspired the show. For secret organizations, this is pretty varied, anything from National Treasure to The Kingsman or even The Hand from Marvel Comics. There are obviously a ton of other themes you could add to this list, and a few of them may even combine effectively. More on this in the next step. Now that we've figured out the types of campaigns that would make us happy, you need to narrow things down a bit and make a few selections that make sense for the collaborative story you'd like to tell with your players. Don't feel like you have to come up with everything yourself if you're just starting out. There are published adventures that fit each of these themes. It's actually the bread and butter of Dungeons & Dragons. But since I have an upcoming live stream campaign, I thought I would start my process here with all of you. Okay, for option 1, I'll go with ancient civilizations and exploration. Relics of the ancients. Many of the modern cities of Ventus were built on the foundations of ancient realms or old fortresses. Over the years, several antiquarian societies have funded expeditions and brought specialists together for archaeological exploration. However, after some interesting recent discoveries, there is a renewed need for brave explorers to aid in their search. Notice that I give the campaign a name, just like the professionals do, but it's not just for show. The name helps reinforce the theme, and it helps me set the stage and give a hint on what's to come. I've also made sure to build in a hook that can be discussed with the players during session 0. That need for brave explorers is pretty standard for any campaign, but the fact that they would be tied to specific antiquarian societies or factions adds an additional layer of interest. Okay, for option 2, we'll go with a combination of mystery and location-based campaign themes. Patrons of Providence Manor. On the outskirts of Fallon's Peak sits Providence Manor, an old family estate now operating as a boarding house. This conversion to a short-term residence has recently brought some interesting travelers to the area, and there may be more to the old mansion that meets the eye. Again, campaign titles are important. With a location-based theme for this campaign, it's best to have a specific location planned out ahead of time. It will give me the opportunity to prepare the manor, its inhabitants, and the background before we get started. With the more than meets the eye teaser, the mystery is implied without really saying what it is, and this is important at this stage. I should have a good grasp on the main mystery before we start, but I need to leave things open for the development of the mystery as we go, because things are going to change on the fly as needed. And it also leaves me an opportunity to listen to my players during session 0 and adapt things even further after the choice has been made. By the way, this is a little easier with a homebrew story. It's possible with a published adventure, but it'll just take a little bit more prep depending on the adjustments you have to make. For the final option, I'll go with a secret organization and gothic horror themed campaign. The Kindred. Rumors throughout the land say that there are nameless powers fighting a long, cold war in the shadows. To some, this battle is a calling, but to others, it's a birthright. Who rises up to participate in this ongoing struggle? And more importantly, will you join them? I know, the title of the adventure isn't as straightforward as the others, but combined with the description, I think it works. I mentioned nameless powers and a war in the shadows, so it should at least leave the players asking, what is or who are the kindred? And that's a good thing. Now that I've got everything narrowed down to these three options and I've gotten the descriptions written, I can send them to my players ahead of session 0. Selecting the choice of theme is just the start. You have to enrich the experience using some of the established tropes most related to those included themes. So what are theme enhancers? The best way to identify a theme enhancer is through examples. In the Relics of the Ancient campaign, the themes are exploration and ancient civilizations. So I may want to emphasize the forgotten archaic languages that are around, or include detailed descriptions of the places with unfamiliar architectural styles. And I'll also likely use map handouts and refer to ancient, out-of-circulation currency. Those special coins may make a big difference to the campaign. And also, I'll throw in unique artifacts whenever possible. However, Patrons of Providence Manor is a mystery and location-based campaign themes. So I would need to put even greater emphasis on how the NPCs, location, and surrounding events make the characters feel. It's all about feel in that type of adventure. I need to leave clues in a purposeful way. The Kindred campaign emphasizes secret organizations and Gothic horror. This may be similar in some ways to the first two options, actually, but there will still be some unique things that should be emphasized. For example, time of day can be increasingly important, but there should also be codes and symbology and rites of passage, and all of those should be used to slowly expose any secret organizations working behind the scenes. Now that you've witnessed some of the first-hand planning, you may want to check out our upcoming live stream campaign to see how I put all of this into practice. I'll have a playlist for the campaign, and it will likely draw its name from one of the three options that we just reviewed, because they're going to pick something of those three. And the game is just a regular D&D campaign for the player. But as you can tell, I'm trying to directly incorporate some of my strategies and ensure it's a teaching campaign for geek philosophy viewers. So I'll draw attention to any teachable moments as they pop up, and then I'll give you my additional DM details in my behind the screens videos. If you're interested in watching the live stream campaigns or viewing the behind the screens videos, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications to get the latest updates on what's going on. In honor of developing a theme for your campaign, I'd like to leave you with a few words of geek philosophy from a character whose words definitely invoked some thematic development. The night is dark and full of terrors.